Welcome back to a pretty honest, obviously uncensored review of Ubisoft's latest creation, the Watch Dogs Legion. And to be completely fair, I kind of have to tell you, I finally figured out what Ubisoft is. It's your ex-girlfriend that you haven't seen for a couple of years, but every time you meet her, she stabs you with a knife and reminds you how much you love her. Obviously, that's a one-sided relationship because at the end of the day, you are bleeding and basically you need to be taken to a hospital. And this is exactly the feeling I get when I got my hands on Watch Dogs. Now, the reason is, right, obviously, since I'm a nitpicking bastard, I instantly tried to run the game on Ultra with my current setup, which is no secret to anyone. It's an i5 96K with 1080 Ti and 60 gigs of DDR4. Nothing's overclocked, everything is pretty much stock. And I was thinking, okay, well, I should be getting pretty decent results. I was not wrong. I was getting decent results. But I was getting decent results to just say that Ubisoft again have finally admitted, well, unofficially, that they just cannot code good games anymore. Like, quite literally. Now, let me just quickly go over the specs or the skepticism that I found. So, first of all, Ubisoft's website, obviously, as you can see, because I don't trust any third-party sources, I like to take the word of the company that makes the game. And they have the specs revealed. Of course, this title is from October 12th, which is not really that far off, to be honest. We're like, what, in November or something? So let's go down. Of course, I'm going to skip the ray tracing enabled. I have 1080 Ti. There's no way in hell I'm going to get ray tracing enabled unless I actually solder on some RTX cores on it. And well, we all know it's not going to work. Let's go for ray tracing disabled. So something for, the peasants like me who simply don't buy RTX cards, which is apparently very upsetting for both Ubisoft and Nvidia, but hey, here we are again. So let's go for the recommended system requirements, and this is exactly what I want to look at. So we have requirements for i7-4790, my old nemesis, the 4th generation i7, and we're talking for high preset, right? And we need GPU at least 1060 or 6060 Super. I wonder why there's no mention of Radeon cards, or I'm sorry, AMD cards at this point. Video memory is 6 gigs. Do we have any kind of frame rate expectations set by the Ubisoft? Of course not. You're getting a frame that's good enough, peasant. Right, let's move on for the recommended system requirements for 4040p gaming, high preset DirectX 12. We need i7-9700, which is, well, quite literally 5 generations of jump. Okay, I understand that. We have more core count, we have more hyperthreading, more, well, basically potential to run the game, and GPU is for RTX 2060 Super. Do we have any frames to actually look forward? No, we don't, but it's recommended. Okay. Keep this in mind, people, because I'm gonna go down the lane that Ubisoft simply don't really like to advertise, which is basically, damn, I really hope they will not find out how unoptimized our games are. Well, I'm sorry, Ubisoft. You are on my radar. It's not a personal vendetta. It's more like a hobby to just see what you're gonna come out with next. So let's take a look at the actual Watch Dogs. So here we are launching up or starting up the Watch Dogs Legion. And I just want to see what happens. Obviously I do have, well, MSI Afterburning running just for the stats. And what do we see? The cutscene is frame locked to 30 frames. Okay. The game is designed for NVIDIA RTX. It's initializing something and we're still frame locked at 30 frames. Now, here is the thing that I want to address when it comes to Ubisoft titles, right? They are very quick to pump out new titles and thank them for that. Obviously, otherwise I would have literally no one to hate. But it's not personal. Honestly, certain games, as I said previously, I like pretty much, but hey, you know, it's kind of like love-hate relationship here. So let's jump in with what the issue actually is, on my opinion. So as you know, my specs: i5 900K, 1080 Ti, DDR4, game running from SSD, pretty decent setup, not the best, old hardware, yes, I know, however, it should be fine at certain extent. So let's go for options and let's see what we have. So video, obviously we have GTX 1080 Ti. We have 11 gigs of video memory to play with. We're gonna do full HD. Vertical sync is off. Obviously everything else is on, well, automatic. And quality is on low. And we're using DirectX 11. And this is a surprise tool that's gonna come into play later on. And I'm going to explain why. Also, one of the reasons why I have Fraps running, because, well, if I'm going to use MSI, the Watch Dogs benchmark simply just kind of goes under exactly these numbers. But there are some things I want to actually show you guys. So let's put everything on low under DirectX 11. So that basically means it should completely not get bottlenecked by the 1080 Ti and just go completely full load on the CPU, getting through as much frames as it can, because as you can see, the video RAM, well, usage for these settings is barely 2.4 gigs. That is absolutely nothing. I mean, you can run this game with 970 on low and should be fine. Let's run a benchmark and take a look what I find out. So obviously it was pretty much the same when I first started the game, and this is kind of like the second time I decided to make a recording of it. Because I found something very odd, which I basically found out starting from Odyssey, then it came to Breakpoint, then it came to Valhalla, and Legion is also having the same issue. So look at this, we are having 100 frames and GPU usage, upper left corner, is 70%, like 72, 60. And obviously Fraps is just for good measure. So the game looks, well, obviously as it would look on low. Nothing to write home about. However, we're using 7.8 gigs of actual RAM. I don't know, guys. This kinda begs a question here. So what exactly is the end game? And please do keep in mind how much the GPU usage is currently, which is, let's just wait until it finishes, and I would say it roughly around hovers 80%, and we are on low, well, basically around 100 frames as well. So the next test is gonna be on ultra settings, on DirectX 11, everything maxed out. We're gonna see it again, and we're gonna compare the GPU usage and the frames we're getting on DirectX 11. And then we're gonna do exactly the same comparison on low and ultra with DirectX 12. And this is where the real fun starts, because obviously the Ubisoft is just pushing out something very nice. So here we go, the end of the benchmark. I see, well, obviously the maximum frames you can barely see is 189, and the average frames are kind of covered up, which is, well, a bit sad, but I would say it's roughly around 100 anyway, as we saw throughout. Minimum frames are 7. Here is the dropped frames graph, which you might actually recognize from, well, any Ubisoft title. I think they kind of donate those frames to, like, you know, I don't actually even know to who, but they're dropping those frames as they're almost like collecting them for whatever reason. And system load, look at this. So we're using actually 2.4 gigs, which is as advertised by the bench. Barely 4 gigs of RAM. CPU load was apparently on 100, which I never saw throughout the test, but okay. And GPU load they claim was 95%, while throughout the whole video you could see it kind of goes from 70 to 80. A biased benchmark? I don't know. Let's run this on an ultra setting now. So obviously I had to restore the game just to apply these settings, because obviously otherwise they would not apply. As you can see, the background and all this is still frame locked at 30 frames. We're not doing anything. So let's go for the options. Let's go for the video. So we're still running DirectX 11. Graphics are by the preset, by the way. I didn't change anything because I would really want to adjust some things like headlight shadows for the cars. I left it at the discretion of the ultra setting, and as you can see, it predicts that our video memory usage would be 7.4 gigs. Everything's on ultra, nice, perfect. And of course, ray traced and DLSS is off because 1080 Ti doesn't actually support it. And we're running on ultra. Let's run this show because now this is where things gonna go interesting. So ultra settings, obviously full HD, we should be getting, you know, pretty decent stuff. And then Ubisoft said, nah, it's gonna be fine. And it's not fine. It's not fine at all. And let's take a look. So we are at the start of the sequence. We are basically hovering somewhere around 60. GPU usage is finally around 40. Well, actually not 40, I'm sorry. 92, 90, 97, jumping back and up. And I cannot really say there's too much difference in here. However, we are kind of within the metrics of the magical number of 60. As you can see, the graphics are not exactly too much. You can see some reflections in a puddle. Sure, the light is a bit more brighter. There is a bit more shadowing. But you still see the same grain. You can see the textures are kind of popping in and out of existence. You can see the anti-aliasing on the edges of the objects are basically just loading in. And of course, I could put this all down to the 1080 Ti. However, in terms of memory, we're using 6.7 gigs and RAM is 8.6 and CPU is not really doing that much as well. And this is the funny part. At the end of the benchmark, it doesn't matter what kind of settings you're running, it's gonna go sub 60. See this stuff? 54, 53 something. There's nothing really happening on the screen. We're moving around, and if someone says, you know, yeah, there's some reflections of the bullets hitting the wall. I'm sorry, we're like 47, 48, 50 frames. Now, you think this is bad. You think 1080 Ti is time to retire, stop being a cheap ass and just buy better hardware. Okay. Hear me out. Let's do the same thing, low and ultra, and compare it running DirectX 12. And oh guys, I can promise you, you're gonna be in for some pretty serious surprise. So here we are, and obviously we're gonna take a look at the settings we're running here. So let's go for video. We are at DirectX 12, obviously really annoying game restart later. Everything is on low. Geometry is on high. Well, there's not really a low setting for it. I don't actually care. Texture filtering, I'm gonna leave it as it is by the preset, because if I change this, it's gonna go to custom, and that's not really, you know, fair apparently in the game's eyes. So let's just have it like this, and let's take a look how it runs on DirectX 12. And this is mind-boggling how the DirectX 12 is not being taken advantage when it comes to this card. So we're landing on low. Let's take a look at the magic numbers here from our trustworthy measuring, well, software like MSI. And what do we see? GPU usage 60%. We're hitting 80 frames, so we're not in the hundreds like with DirectX 11, which is older version. We're at like 80s. GPU usage is 57%, 60. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but is anyone seeing a pattern here that Ubisoft just don't want, or is unable, or there is some master plan behind it to limit the DirectX potential when being used with the cards that can actually run it? 1080 Ti runs DirectX 12 titles perfectly fine, and we would be seeing this kind of frames on ultimate settings playing Breakpoint. And I must say, I can't really say it's, you know, it's not the game full of reflections and puddles and RTX features, obviously, but since we don't have them even enabled, that shouldn't matter. And here's the fun part. Once this benchmark comes to an end, which is going to be pretty soon, we're going to see the frame drop again below 60, which is very interesting. Well, let's see if I'm actually right. So we're backing up and it should be kind of like the time for it, 60, 70, and it'd be any second now. 62, 61, barely held it. But GPU usage never went, well, anywhere near. It actually should be going because we are not limited by it. It should be taking full advantage on it. Apparently, it's not required to do it. So again, when we look at it, the maximum frames we're getting is 120 at some point, obviously. The minimum is 37, good. And GPU load, 75%. CPU load, 77. Look at all these dropped frames. Minimum frames, 37. Okay. How do you think what's gonna happen on Ultra and DirectX 12? I'm gonna tell you. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Let's take a look. And here we are. So DirectX 12, Watchdog Legion, everything on Ultra. Let me just verify that real quick. So we are on 12, obviously. Using DirectX 12 API can offer better performance depending on your hardware. Such a vague claim. You know, it can offer. We're not promising you anything. It's an option. Maybe it will, probably not. So graphics quality preset is ultra, so we are everything, well, basically as ultra as we can be. And we're using, well, 7.4 gigs out of 11, which is completely fine. Let's run a benchmark. Let's see at the GPU load, upper left. Let's look at the frames we get and the CPU usage. Let's see what the game thinks we should be getting. And I must say, Ubisoft apparently kind of wants to have videos like these made about their games because things like this becomes more and more apparent. If you have older hardware, screw you. Buy a new one and stop bitching about it. GPU usage on Ultra, 83%, and we're getting, well, sub 60. Not much. Frame and 2. Does it look any better? A bit more sharper details. I can see better reflections. A bit more lighting effects. But we're sub 60. GPU usage is not even 100%. CPU is not actually doing anything. And we're using 10 gigs of RAM. Can someone finally explain me this magic? Is the frames and the usage intentionally, well, basically locked for RTX cards? So finally, when we go into something that requires GPU, it actually ramps up to 99 or 98% of usage. And as you can see, the frames are above 60 in very well lit place. So all the reflections, all the things are there, and we're getting decent frames. The moment GPU usage drops because it's not utilizing it under DirectX 12, that should be squeezing out every bit of performance or research of the GPU, it just backed down. And now we're going back, and there you go, 86% usage, 55 frames. How sad if you don't have the newest graphics card or the newest CPU to power through the Ubisoft code. I don't know. What can we do for it? Let's take a look. Maximum frames 89, CPU load 81, and GPU load is 99. Yeah, that's the problem. You see, Ubisoft thinks people don't have eyes. They can't see the numbers on the screen. And they don't think people like me exist, who actually loves looking at numbers at the screen. And of course, probably they will say MSI is reporting wrong. However, I must say MSI has proven itself pretty decent when it comes to hooking into game engines, and, well, one of the reasons why, well, everyone uses MSI for 1% lows and 1% just to see what's actually going on. Anyway, this is the time to take a look at something a bit more interesting. The next footage is gonna be Ultra settings, DirectX 11. We're gonna play a tiny bit and we're gonna talk about it. So as promised, we are actually right back where we, well, kind of left off is my promise. So let's go for video, DirectX 11 Ultra settings. I'm not going to do any benchmarks. Let's just jump straight into the campaign. That was pretty well, unfunny start, to be honest. It kind of felt like Division 2, to be completely fair. You know, cover and shoot mechanics was nice, but, you know, it just like, you have this weird vibe. I was kind of trying to find the boss, you know, like, and just raid him for loot. But obviously I needed to hack things, so it was like a bit weird. Anyway, let's take a look how this game runs on DirectX 11. Everything maxed out. So here we are. So I must say the textures of the ground looks amazing, and as long as you look at the ground, you're getting well over 60. So walking around, as you can see, the frames are not really consistent. They are jumping up and down depending on how much stuff is going on the screen, and maybe it might be too much for the 1080 to handle. But now take a look at the GPU usage. 78-80%. And 8.4 gigs of actual RAM, and I cannot really say that, you know, this is in any way actually, you know, not loaded up. No, we can just steal a car, which we will do. Finally, we're back in an actual country where you can drive on the correct side of the road, which is the left. But ever since Mafia, I'm having mixed feelings about where we need to go and how. And we are at, well, subpar 50 and sometimes 60, hitting people and stuff like that. So average frames going through highly populated areas with a lot of reflections and stuff is giving us about 50 frames. DirectX 11, everything on ultra, and GPU usage while doing this is 66%. Yes, take a look how it looks. Oh, we're actually in 30s now, and GPU usage is like, what, 68, 70? Okay, you money-grubbing bastards. Apparently I found your weakness. That is fine. Now take a look how this looks and feels and runs on the same settings, ultra settings, DirectX 12. And here, where, again, the real fun begins. So here we are back again. Obviously, I know you are tired of hearing this sentence, but you know, there's only this much I can actually make sense of differentiating between my own videos because I have, well, very bad case of Alzheimer's. So let's go for options, go for video. So DirectX 12, everything on ultra by the preset. Let's see how it runs. And oh boy, is this gonna be a surprise for, well, everyone but apart from me, because I'm gonna raise my drink for Ubisoft, because please keep doing what you're doing, because otherwise I will have no other games to hate and I won't be able to make my videos, which obviously nobody watches, but hey, here we are. So thanks for watching, by the way. Like and subscribe, and you know, spread the good word, or just crack open a cold one with the boys and have a laugh. So here we are, and obviously my character is pretty confused of what the actual fuck is going on. Because ultra settings on DirectX 12, we are using 74% of the graphics card's performance, and we are having 48, 45 frames. So we're not even close to 60 at any point. Yeah, I'm not sure this actually, you know, is the best thing ever when you talk about the games in general. So let me just take this car, which I really hope is not Tesla, because I like Teslas and that would be pretty a dick move to steal them. And what do we have? 76% of usage of GPU power and sub 40 frames at times. I'm sorry, Ubisoft, what the actual fuck? Are you telling me 1080 Ti is unable to be utilized properly at full potential and basically getting decent frame rates? As you can see, the difference between DirectX 11 and 12 is pretty significant. So if you are telling me that I need RTX cores to get a good graphical fidelity, oh damn, we're in like 35s now. Well, shit, is that not nice at all? Let's take a look around. Oh boy, 18. I don't know, Ubisoft. I think you might have some explaining to do. And the first thing would be, why are you not addressing these issues, considering that, again, people don't usually just flock up to the store and buy the newest hardware because, you know, it feels good. And I can't really say, you know, my setup is completely bad and time to bin it. It's a bit odd. And since I've played Call of Duty and, like, you know, the Warframe, Warzone, whatever that was. Also Warframe, by the way, it's not really that bad. Look at this mess. I don't know, Ubisoft, you calling this the best new game ever with your linear storyline, your procedurally generated characters with the same choices and the same dialogue options ever so often, because obviously you cannot make every single character here the volunteer for your cause, because obviously, I mean, let's face it, you simply don't have the manpower to voice that many characters and different choices, and that's been already reviewed in different channels, not mine. I'm not nitpicking little game details like that. That is kind of expected, and honestly, those people who don't expect it, well, keep watching my channel and leave a comment and let's see where we get with that. But here you go, look at this performance. I cannot actually call this performance. The frame drops, the stuttering, yeah. You don't even need to be a gamer to know that you're playing a Ubisoft title at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? If you think I'm wrong, leave a comment. Tell me what I'm doing wrong with my life and game testing here, and I'm happy to discuss it, or probably not. Depends on the mood I am. But that's pretty much all I have for you today. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching and leave a comment. And someone tell me where can I repair that car, because I think I fucked it up pretty badly. Anyway, I'm gonna end this with GPU usage at 72% and having 47 frames. Thanks for watching, peace out, and stay classy.